Well, I'm back. I am back. I'm back. I'm back. Um, so I decided to come back. I've been away for a while. So basically, it's good to be back on Restream. It's been a while. I haven't made videos in a while. I've been very busy. So what I wanted to talk about was a lot of people that I have encountered with. And I want to say this: back in 2020, they there was laws that was made in terms regarding payroll in the W two, where the W two prior to 2019, W two looked different. The W four, I'm sorry, the W four is what you get when you're applying for a job, and that's a document that payroll gives you. And you're telling your payroll company on what is your filing status and what's your withholdings. So what I realized is that they had lowered the withholding rate, which made you bring home more money on your paycheck, but your refunds became smaller. Um, so I'm gonna give you an example. Let's say you're head of household. You have two children. So on the W four, box one is the information. You put your name, your address, your social security. Then, let's see, can I remember clear? There's a box two. I don't have it in front of me. But then there's box three, four. Box three is your dependents. So let's say you have two children and it's $2,000 per child. You're gonna put 4,000, and then you put your filing status as head of household. So what that means is that they're gonna take out less taxes because you're taking the credit up front versus taking it later. So the standard deduction reduces your income. So it adjusts the income. Credits, which is called refundable credits, like child tax credit. Let's say you get the credits, retirement savings credit. So any credits which are refundable is going to reduce the tax liability. So now, if you take the advancement up front by putting down, instead of putting leaving that blank, and you put down you have two children, that's $4,000. So that means you're gonna bring home less. So at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you already took an advancement on you paid less. You're gonna end up owing. And the reason why I was talking about that is I had a young lady that she was upset, she was crying, and she had went on TurboTax and she did a tax return. She she proceeded to do it. She didn't process it by clicking to file the federal or the state to e-file it. So she comes to me and I said, what's wrong? She said TurboTax said that I want to owe $4,000. So I said to her, well, let me see your W two. When I looked at her W two, I saw in box number two. Box number two. So the W two has the boxes that's above, and then below is the state from box 15 all the way up to box 15 is the state, right? So it starts from box number 16, all your state wages, 17, 18, 19, and 20 is the locality. So box two is what I was looking at because it said that she owed the federal $4,000. So if I owe the federal $4,000, I'm gonna look at box two, and there was nothing there. And she said, "What happened?" So I said, "Well, let me look at it." And then I went and did the tax return, and I confirmed it. But I was able to tell her why she owed, and the reason why she owed was I talk about this. Growing up as children, our parents never taught us about taxes, credit, or even finances. Um, they never even taught us about stocks and bonds because they didn't own those things. You didn't learn it in church at all. You didn't learn it in public school, middle school, high school. And even when you went to college and did accounting, if you took up accounting, you did. But you didn't really go into taxes or they didn't teach us about credit. So now you're only copycatting or doing what our parents did. So now we have to, as they learn on their own, we have to learn on our own. It doesn't diminish our parents at all, but what it was is there was a lack of knowledge in those areas that we inherited. So when we became an adult, it plays out in our life until some of us say, well, you know what? Let me go get the knowledge. So instead of complaining and being a victim, go get the knowledge. And what I want to say on that is there's a lot of cases that I see where when I'm doing a tax return, there was one client, she got a refund last year. But what I realized is that a lot of people are filling out the W-4s wrong. They're filling them out wrong. And you really don't have a physical HR department, which stands for Human Resource Department. There's no physical staff there to take the paperwork and look at it and go over it with you and ask you questions. Because now everything is online or through an online portal. You're no longer getting paper pay stubs anymore. Even when you do direct deposit, you would get a voided, like a voided check along with your pay stub. Because at that time, people will want to look at their pay stub to make sure that their pay stub was correct. That their pay stub might show zero federal, zero state. That means you're going to take out more and bring home less. So what a lot of people did is during that time, before everything went technology wise in the world that we live in, and everything is so more sophisticated today, people was more conscious back there during that time. Nowadays, where, for example, ADP, every employee have their own login where they can go on and access their pay stubs. So you really don't have a physical HR department anymore. Everything is done through a portal. And so with that said and done, back in 2020, I read it. What the government did was they lowered the withholding rate, the withholding rate. So now people was coming home with more money on their paycheck, but their tax refund was getting smaller. I'll say it once again. During 2020, they changed the laws as far as payroll and everything. And they lowered the withholding rate. That means that you will bring home more take-home pay. However, when you went to go file your taxes, you got a smaller refund. Because really during the year, you took more money in exchange for what? A smaller refund, or you owe taxes. Then what they did was they got rid of the itemized deductions, what you could itemize. Let's say medical expenses. That's an itemization. Let's say charitable contribution, where you either donate cash or gifts to a charitable organization that's accepted by the IRS. Or people that go to church, they get the tithes, they get a statement in a year, and they will bring it to us or the tax accountant to now file it with their return. So what the government did, they gave us what they call the standard deduction for single, head of household, married filing joint, married filing separate, and qualified widow with dependents. 5 filing categories, right? So these 5 filing categories automatically, since many people don't have itemized deductions, automatically you get the standard deduction. So for single, it's roughly around 13,870. For married filing joint, it's 27,700, and you take half of that. If you do a married filing separate, it's the same thing as married filing single, 13,800, something of that nature. Then you have head of household. I mean, that's like around 18,000. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so that automatically adjusts your income. So if you made 50,000 and you're single at 13,000, you take 13,870 minus your 50,000 that you made for the year. Whatever's left over, that's your adjusted gross income. Then any other adjustments, like for example, it could be school tuition. Those are adjustments. I'm trying to think of some other adjustment. Mortgage interest, but then you have your credits, which is the earned income credit. You have retirement savings credits. Um, you might have an electric vehicle. Okay, solar panels. Those are different credits. So credits reduce the tax liability, while the standard deduction are called adjustments that reduce goes towards the income. Correct. So now what's happening is a lot of people nowadays are owing and they don't know why. Um, so it's kind of hard to explain to people when they're upset. And the thing about it, I was talking to somebody, I said, the thing is what people have to understand is that there's four levels, I would say. One is employees, which has the highest income tax rate up to over 35%. The second one is called self-employed. Self-employment. These are people that own a business, such as a sole proprietor, a single member LLC, or a partnership, which pays self-employment tax of 15.3%. Third is the corporate tax. And at one time when Donald Trump was president, it was at 21%. I think it's roughly today like around 26%. And last but not least is the passive income. Real estate investors. I'm going to use them as an example, which has a lower rate of 15.3%. So I was talking to her. I said that when you own something, you own a business, you own properties, um, let's say you own stocks and bonds. Stocks represent ownership into a company, bonds represent your loaning money. And I'm going to use a business and your own properties to make it simple. Your tax return is going to be different than someone who was single, head of household, married. They just have children, but they don't have a business. Their return is totally different. But what the issue is that people are frustrated. They go by what they hear, and for a lack of knowledge, not a pursuing of information, they reject this information based on how they feel. So the connection comes down to, well, I feel that taxes are bad, even though I have an advantage and can do things that you can't do. But it's that connection from an emotional standpoint is why we're connecting. So I'm thinking that what? You and I are the same. No, we're not. So that's why it's important that you understand out of all these 4 things that I mentioned: employee, self-employment, a corporation, a corporate business, and passive income, right? So each one is different. And that's why when you reach a certain level where you're making a lot of money, you're thinking about buying properties, you owning a business, you don't go to H&R Block. You don't do it on TurboTax, Credit Karma. That's not where you file your taxes at. People that has ones that they just work, they have no dependents, they don't have a business, they don't own any properties, they'll go to H&R Block, they will go to TurboTax, they'll do Credit Karma, because really their returns are very simple. But when you reach that level of you own something and you have properties, or you invested into properties, or you're buying properties, or you have a rental property where you have tenants, or a lot of you have Airbnb. There's another one called VROB, and I'll get the acronym of that. But a lot of you have Airbnb. A lot of you have property where you have tenants in there, either paying rent, or they're Section 8, or they're veterans for the Veterans Administration, where they get government assistance, or people that's on SSI, where now Section 8 is paying 95% of the rent. So you're in a different situation. Now you feel that, okay, taxes are this or that. No, the tax laws was created for you to pay as little taxes as you can. But you'll never understand that. Why? Because the Lord says something deep. And this is universal principle. My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So if they lack the knowledge, they're not going to pursue the information. I'll say it once again. When you're lacking knowledge, you're not going to pursue the information, because what you're going to reject the information. And I see that every day. I see that with a lot of entrepreneurs. Everybody want to form an LLC. Everybody form. Well, why did you do it? I don't know why. I just want to form an LLC. A lot of people are forming partnerships. Why you do it? I don't know why. So you're going on LegalZoom and all these other outlets to do them. It's better to come to somebody like an attorney. And that's what they specialize in. Pay the money. Trust me. Pay the money so that you can be headed in the right direction. Because life is a classroom. We all must pay tuition. Even when you're ignorant, that comes with a cost. When we make mistakes, that comes with a cost. When we're prosperous, that's come with a cost. So that's why it's important for each and every one of you is to become aware. Don't give a blind eye. Don't turn your ear away. Don't get frustrated. You too can learn, but you have to be willing to learn. But as long as you are frustrated, angry, resentful, playing victim, then knowledge can never come into the space that you're in. Because your space has been already filled up with what? Hurt, anger, disappointment, hate. So how can knowledge come into your space if you are not making any space for it to enter? And the reason why a lot of you are not successful is because of you. You're too busy trying to please everybody. You're too busy trying to please everyone. You're too busy trying to love everyone. You're too busy trying to be unselfish. You're not going to get nowhere. A lot of you, and I have this phrase, it says, learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. And I have another one that says, dream, create, believe, inspire, love. A lot of you are getting in your own way. A lot of you are doing things because what you hear from other people, without doing your own research. There's a lot of scams out here. I had one client who went into franchising. Franchise is like buying another job. They allow you to have a name and a tax ID number. Well, you didn't realize that you have to pay franchise fee and royalties for the life of the deal. And then what happens is he had a cleaning business. So the company, which is the franchisor, they're already brokered the deal. Then what happened? They hire you as what? An independent contractor. So you have to have a legal entity, which is, I recommend an LLC, because the LLC creates a separation and an added protection. And the protection. Then you go get a tax ID number from the IRS. Then you open up a business bank account because you can't commingle funds anymore. Then, once you do that, you have to go get an accountant to set up your books. Because you need to know how much money is coming in versus how much money is going out. You need to be able to read financial statements and what statement that you read it from. So he said, well, I'm not making no money. No, you're not going to make money. I don't knock your ambition. But how long does ambition last when there's no money coming in? I say once again, your desires and your ambition will dry up in the long run. Because when there's no money coming in and you can't pay your bills and you got your wife looking at you different, and I always tell you, love don't conquer all. That's a lie. Let there be problems in your home. Money, you cannot take money out the equation. Money is part of the foundation. You can't have no money and bad credit. It don't make it. Now, all of a sudden, the rent is not being paid or being threatened not to be paid. The light bill, the gas bill, hell, the car note. Why? Because you got into something without doing any research. You went in there what I call blind faith. You was blind because you're a follower. But it says faith without works. You didn't put in the work, the research. Because you was told that what? You shouldn't work for somebody. Well, ask yourself this question. As long as you're on this earth, you're going to be working for someone or with someone. When you own a business, who do you think you work for? You work for your client. It don't change. It don't change. So a lot of people go out and become entrepreneurs. I'm not saying don't do it, but put the work in and do the research before you step out there. Because there's a difference when you work at your job, you guarantee a salary unless you get laid off or let go. Now, the roles are reversed now. You was complaining about being mistreated, unappreciated, never got a raise. So now you're taking on the role of your boss, whom the one that you was complaining about. Now, you're on your own. Guess what? Now you understand the cost of hiring an employee. So the same complaint that you had when you were working for somebody else, guess what? What goes around comes around. Now you're complaining. You can't afford health insurance because there's not enough money coming in. So now you gotta go get health savings off the market to the marketplace. Now all of a sudden, now you got clients. You was making $35 an hour. Now you're not making $35 because I always say that people don't mind paying you because it gives them power over you. But when you see another business owner such as yourself, now it's on equal playing fields because knowing that you have the power and the control over someone versus not having that is totally different than how you deal with each other. So I'm not saying don't go out and have, go out and have, go out and do. But do your research. Don't say, oh, you know what, God told no. Do the research first before you do something. Before you know what you're getting yourself into. Everybody wants to create a business. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot. Sometimes there's gonna be days you don't want to do it. There's gonna be clients that's gonna bullshit you. You might not get paid. Oh yeah. Clients that might try to lowball you. Sometimes the more you know makes that client more insecure. And that client in the beginning, yeah. But then he'll be calling you 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, early in the morning, on the weekends. Oh, I gotta ask you a question. Now, guess what happens? Your power has been broken now because you never drew a line in the sand. So now that person, they have 24/7 access to you. And guess what? They're paying you the least amount of money. But the client that's paying you more, he or she don't act like that. The client that's paying you less will have more demands on you. And they never say thank you or even give you a cup of coffee. And at the end of the year, they don't give you a gift card. They don't say nothing to you. But they always got their hand out. So I'm going to get back to what I want to be doing more videos. And as I speak about this, it's important that you get the knowledge, get the understanding, because now there's so much information in the world. And you say yourself, well, how do I decipher what's true or what's not? I think many people don't learn. Many people don't study the lesson; they become the lesson. I say it again: many people don't study the lessons; they become the lesson because they are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, which means what? They're not going to pursue the information because the information is here. There's no excuse. And it's very important that you need to at the beginning of every year, you need to go over your W-4 to make sure that it's properly done. If it's not properly done, then you need to go out and seek advice or help from someone. Because I guarantee you, when you know that you owe the federal, we owe taxes, that is not a nice conversation to have. And 9 out of 10 is because of you. It's because of you. The world is changing. Yes, it is. Now we have AI intelligence doing everything. So I say good night to everybody. Sleep well, be well. I wish everyone health, happiness, prosperity, success, money, and the abundance of all things. Good night.